Mata and other members of the Uvalde community, along with policymakers and a survivor of the Sandy Hook shooting, were on Capitol Hill today to testify in a hearing on gun violence. Uvalde's only pediatrician, Dr. Roy Guerrero, who treated the victims that day, played audio of students screaming that he said a parent had sent him. Now, I have to warn you, this is extremely difficult to listen to. So take a minute, brace yourself, and okay, here it is.
This is the shrill screaming of kids trying to get out while their classmates are being murdered. When you see pictures of Amory and her friends on the news, you should know they didn't get buried looking sweet and happy like their photos. Some were missing limbs, some had holes in their tiny chests. You might mistakenly imagine a funeral where a child lies peacefully in a colorful coffin. But make no mistake, there's no peace in the death of a child by a weapon of war.
Wow. And Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez described the utter failure of law enforcement officials that day.
Brave little girls called 911 while law enforcement waited outside just a few feet away. Not one law enforcement official took control inside or outside of that building. Child was dragged out of the hallway. Her face was gone. Hallways and classrooms had blood like no horror movie you've ever seen. Off camera, you could hear grown men throwing up from the side of the horror, or perhaps the failure that they had caused. There is no transparency and no accountability to date.
State Senator Roland Gutierrez joins me now. Also joining me is Faith Mata, who you saw at the beginning of this segment. She's the sister of Tess Mata, who lost her life in the shooting at Robb Elementary School. Thank you both for being here. And Faith, I want to start just by letting you tell us a little bit about Tess. What was she like?
My sister she was just so outspoken. She was very diva-like, loved to dress up. She was the joy of our family. I don't think we could never stay mad at her. We were just always smiling and laughing with her.
I was reading a piece about the day of the shooting, Faith, and your frantic calls to find out, where your sister was, to try to account for her once you knew that there was a lockdown at the school. I wonder what you make of when we step back and think about these two pieces. One, law enforcement's just utter failure. The fact that there were 317 police there, and the fact that people are still defending the idea of having the kind of gun that would do to the bodies of little kids like your sister what the senator described.
Yeah, like I said it there, that I don't understand how we can't at least come to an agreement that this can't happen again. And if we continue to allow assault rifles be in the hands of people who aren't going to use them the correct way, we shouldn't have them at all. It literally the number one killing weapon in mass shootings, and it's killing our children, it's killing our teachers, it's killing the people of America.
I want to bring you in, Senator Gutierrez. Your testimony was gripping as well. And I mean, the idea that that people are so much more motivated to vote, including in the state of Texas, on the issue of preserving people's access to this, modified version, civilian version of an M16, basically, than they are to vote in a way that to prevent people from getting their hands on it. Texas has done nothing. The country's done a little bit. Some states have done stuff. But what do you make of this resistance to doing anything to stop this? Sandy Hook's anniversary was literally a day ago.
Well, Joy, thank you for having me. First off, the resistance is really with the Republican Party elected officials. 75% of Republicans want to see extreme risk protective orders, and they want to see an increase to an age of 21. In Texas, as you know, you can be 18 and buy an AR-15 like this young man did. But we need common sense gun safety solutions in the United States. And there is this blockade in Washington that just I do not understand. And my only hope is that we can get people like Faith and Nicole, which was the other testimony today from the young lady from Sandy Hook. My only hope is that those young people come into power and their generation begins to make the change that is necessary in our country, because our generation simply is not doing the job.
And Faith, what would you say to somebody? There are people who are adamant. I've talked to these people. I've gone, when I was in Texas, I spoke to a gentleman who was just hardcore on this issue, that nothing, no amount of carnage seems to change their minds. But what would you say to somebody who is hard and fast on not wanting to do anything, including raising the age to 21 to buy an AR-15?
It's actually very gut-wrenching, like having to have a conversation with someone who can't even see the morals of it. If I were to have a conversation with someone, I would just tell them, I never hope you have to go through what my family has gone through. And I never hope you have to understand what we have been through and what I had to see my sister look like after she was murdered in her classroom.
Yeah. I mean, Senator, we're talking about people not even being able to have an open casket funeral because of what these weapons can do to an adult. In a wartime situation, they're doing to a little person, a little fourth grader or a third grader, or, little kids. And I wonder if given the results of the last election, even the district where Uvalde is voted to reelect the current governor, who's done nothing to try to save future families from what this family is going through. It's hard for people to be hopeful when folks see that. What do you think?
I understand, Joy, and I'm just as sad and tortured by all of this. At the end of the day, voting is entirely, I feel that a lot of people are just simply not voting. A lot of people of color are not voting, and they're certainly not voting in their economic interest, and they're not voting in their social interest if they are voting for these folks. We have a lot of work to do in that electoral space, but I'm going to keep fighting for advocacy in this issue, because no child and no parent, no sister should ever have to go through what all of these parents and these families have gone through. I wish America, I went to 8 funerals, and the last funeral was a closed casket. You can imagine what had happened to that little girl. I wish America can come to some peace on this and have an understanding and have that Emmett Till moment, because these children's lives were shattered and destroyed because of that weaponry. People need to really understand this.